Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch, and thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. Today we're going to be doing a review of one of the oldest bottles I have, and a bottle with a great age statement that you might just actually be able to find. That's Knob Creek 12 Year. So let's get to it. Alright, so first off, we just got to point out that this bottle has a big golden 12 on it, which is something that you don't see very often from bourbons these days. Knob Creek, which is a distillery from Jim Beam, has, their whole line is doing something special, and that is, proudly displaying age statements. They've got the 9-year-old, the 12-year-old, and the 15-year-old, and most of their single barrel stuff is right around 8 or 9 years old as well. So what you're getting from Knob Creek, which I'm a big fan of, is a combination of good age and good value because the prices are pretty good. Speaking of price, this bottle is $60 MSRP. It's one of those slightly harder to find bottles. You might have to do a little extra work to go out and get one of these, but you can certainly find one, as evidenced by me being able to find one pretty easily. So what is actually in this bottle obviously is 12 years old. It is 100 proof, so not a super high proof, barrel proof option, but certainly not, low down in the 80s. The mash bill on this is 77% corn, 13% rye, and 10% malted barley. So certainly corn forward, but with a decent amount of rye to sort of balance things out. Other than that, it is a beautiful bottle, as you can tell. Sort of great coloring, great presentation. Got these cool indentations on the back that make it really easy to grip. And the only downside to all of Knob Creek is that they have the wax seals on the top that often are kind of crumbly, so mine's sort of jagged on the edges there. But other than that, Knob Creek's pretty much, on the exterior here, doing everything right. Question is, how good is the actual whiskey? How good is a 12-year whiskey that's relatively available? Should it be something you're hunting? Well, let's figure that out. Now, before I do get into the nose and palate and finish here, if you're enjoying the content, I do want to just invite you guys to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. It really helps the channel out, and I, of course, always love to hear what you guys are drinking and what you're enjoying these days. And if there's any videos you want to see in the near future that I can produce for you guys, please let me know. All right, so let's get into the nose first. Yeah, really good. Right off the bat, lots of vanilla. Sort of an undertone, a base of oak. Something sweeter and fruitier, like a cherry and maybe some apricot or a fruit with a pit in it. Yeah, really nice nose. I think that's one of the first things I noticed about this pour is just that the nose is really inviting. Doesn't have too much alcohol or ethanol on it. Sort of sweet and rich and draws you in. So let's get to the palate. Okay, so first up, it is a complex and sort of developing, unfolding experience. First thing I noticed was a dose of vanilla. Second thing I noticed was a good helping of nuttiness, just sort of like peanuts. I know that Knob Creek and Jim Beam in general, a lot of people get a peanut note on their stuff, and I certainly get a good dose of that on this. And then it definitely transitions into this baking spices and caramely back end, and then that lingers on the finish for sure. I get a lot of vanilla and caramel for the finish, and maybe even tending toward that oakier side with a little bit of tobacco-y sort of flavor on the finish there. Let's go back into the palate one more time and focus really particularly on the finish. Yep. So that focusing on the finish, and it's still lingering, still going. You still get that progression from sweetness and vanilla to baking spices and nuttiness. And then on the finish, there really is a great note of tobacco and maybe even a little bit of leather. And then that dark fruit, that pitted fruit sort of sticks around as well. Really, I mean, for what you're getting, $60 and 12 years old, I think it totally delivers on that promise, which gives you a sense of age, a good amount of oak, good amount of tobacco undernotes, and a little bit of leather. Really, it's sweet on the front end, so inviting and rich and enjoyable. And then if you do like your bourbons a little oakier, maybe a little bit more age and tobacco and leather, you're gonna get that on the finish, which is just such a great quality, and it really lingers and sort of stays on the palate for a really long time. Overall, it's certainly a really good pour, worth the $60 for sure, and worth the little bit of extra hunting that you might have to do to go out and find one of these. Not only is it a beautiful bottle to have on the shelf, it's a great introduction to aged whiskey with a complex palate and a lingering finish. If you've had Knob Creek 12 before, please let me know in the comments what you think of it. Is there any other Knob Creek product that you want to see me try or compare to these? Maybe I could do the 9-year-old versus the 12-year-old and sort of see what the differences are and what that 3 years really does to the whiskey. I think that would be really interesting to see. I don't have much more to say about Knob Creek 12-year-old. Total respect for Knob Creek for, proudly displaying that age statement, sort of starting a trend here to get age statements back in the bourbon world. Great to know exactly what you're getting out of the bottle, how old the whiskey is, what the proof is, and at a really good price. So, would recommend definitely going out and trying to get yourself a bottle of Knob Creek 12-year-old if you can. Until I see you guys for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey and cheers.